and then it will obviously start to repeat because all the 5 elements are there. So we can close it. Now check, this is equal to actually our Z6, right? So we get all the ideals generated by the single elements. Now from here what we can write, that if you check this one, this is a proper subset of class 4 or the class 2, that means this one, which is again a proper subset of Z6, right? So from these three, that is class 0, class 1 and class 2, what we can write? From there we can conclude that this one subset of class 4, which is equal to again generated by class 2. So I'm not writing it again. This is subset of Z6. Okay. Now again if you choose that class 0 and class 3. So this one, class 0, 1 minute. This class 0 and this one, 0, 3. This is a subset of this, and which is again a subset of Z6. So from here we can write that class 0, which is subset of class 3, this class subset of Z6, right? Now from there what we can say, what will be the maximal ideals? We can say class 4 and class 3, these two are the maximal ideals. So from here, generated by class 4 and generated by class 3 are two maximal ideals of Z6 from the definition of maximal ideal, right? Now maximal ideal means the prime ideals, that means these two will also be our prime ideals. We just need to check that is there any prime ideals left or not. That means not necessarily these two are the only prime ideals. There may be some other prime ideals also which are not included in the maximal ideal list, because all the prime ideals are not maximal ideal. So we need to check for the prime ideals. So let's check P be a prime ideal of Z6. Okay. Then Z6 by P. This will be an integral domain just by using previous theorem. Now R or Z6, this is a finite ring, right? So we know whenever this R, that means this Z6 by P will also be finite as Z6 is finite. Now we know that finite integral domain is a field. So from here we can say that Z6 by P is also a field because it is finite integral domain. Now whenever it is a field, that means P is also a maximal ideal. Now that means from here we can conclude for the ring Z6, both the maximal ideal and the prime ideals are same. So we have already get the maximal ideals which are generated by class 4 and class 3. So these two are this one and this one. These two are the maximal as well as the prime ideals of Z6. Okay. So this is how we get the maximal and prime ideals for the for the ring Zn. So now your homework is to find the same for Z8 and Z10. Okay. Just the same question. Find all the maximal and prime ideal of Z8 and Z10. The proof and or the solution will be exactly the same. Just take each of the element one by one, get the ideals generated by each singleton element, then find a relation between them, then you will easily get the maximal ideal. And for Zn, we have already proved that all the maximal and prime ideals are same because it becomes a finite integral domain. Then you will get the required result for maximal and prime ideals. Okay. So this will be your homework. This type of examples are very important. Next, moving to the next example, which states that, example number 2, states that let R be an integral domain. Let R be an integral domain. Prove that if every ideal of R is a prime ideal, then R is a field. that means integral domain plus every ideal is prime ideal. Then R is a field. R is an integral domain and every ideal is a prime ideal, then R is a field. So let's prove. Now what will we have to prove? To prove that R is a field, field means every non-zero element is a unit. That is, for every non-zero element it has a multiplicative inverse. We just need to prove that. So let's take one non-zero element. Let A, which is not equal to 0, belongs to R. We will show that A is a unit. That means A has a multiplicative inverse. That is, A inverse exists. That's it. Then A square R, considering this one, A square R. This is an ideal of R. Okay. Now every ideal is a prime ideal. So A square R is a prime ideal also. Now A square belongs to A square R, right? So A square can be written as A into A, which is belongs to A square R, and A square R is a prime ideal. So from here we can say that either this or this, that means actually the same thing. So this A belongs to A square R. We can write it. So in the next line we are writing, whenever A belongs to A square R, it will be of the form A equal to some A square B for some B belongs to R. Now taking this one, A minus A square B equal to the 0 element, taking common A from the left hand side, it will become 1 minus AB equal to 0. Now R is an integral domain, that means it doesn't contain any divisor of 0. So either this one 0 or this one 0. Now we have already taken A is not equal to 0. So the only possibility left, 1 minus AB equal to 0. That is, AB equals to 1. That means B equals A inverse. So A inverse exists. We have taken any arbitrary non-zero element and we have checked that this is a unit. So R is a field. This proves the result. Okay. Next, then another example. Example number 3. It states that let R be a commutative ring with unity. Let R be a commutative ring with unity. Then suppose that X generated by X, this one is a prime ideal. This is a prime ideal of Rx. Rx means the set or the ring of all polynomials over R. So X generated by X is a prime ideal of Rx. Then prove that R is an integral domain. Then prove that R is an integral domain. This is the required question. So what is given? That R is a commutative ring with unity and this one is a prime ideal of Rx. Then we have to prove R is an integral domain. Let's prove it. Now it is given that X is generated by X is a prime ideal, right? Then R a prime ideal of Rx. So Rx by X, what we can conclude by using the previous theorems, we can conclude Rx by X will form an integral domain. Now Rx by X, this one is isomorphic with R, right? How we can say this? That this is isomorphic with R? We can say this by applying first isomorphism theorem. If you can remember, what was first isomorphism theorem? It was that if you consider a ring R and we are considering the ring Rx to R, this one, okay, then Rx, if it's an onto ring homomorphism, then Rx slash kernel of that ring homomorphism, suppose F is that ring homomorphism, so Rx by kernel of F will be isomorphic with R. That was first isomorphism theorem for ring homomorphism or ring isomorphism. So by applying that theorem, we can say that Rx by X will be isomorphic to R. So can you tell me what will be the mapping F for that homomorphism or first isomorphism theorem? The mapping would be F from Rx to R, that is F of any element A0 x to the power n plus A1 x to the power n minus 1 plus dot dot plus An. This will be map onto An. If you consider this mapping, then kernel of F will be this set, this one. Okay, so if you consider this mapping, this will be an onto homomorphism, and by applying first isomorphism theorem, we can say kernel of F will be this. So by first isomorphism theorem, Rx by this kernel, which is this, is isomorphic with R. Now whenever two sets are isomorphic, that means they will enjoy the same property, right? Now we know that Rx by R is an integral domain, because this one from this statement, Rx by X is an integral domain. Then R is also should be an integral domain. This proves the result. Because they are isomorphic, so R is also be an integral domain. Next example will be this one. Example number 4. It is saying that show that a proper ideal I of a ring R is a maximal ideal if and only if. So I is a proper ideal of the ring R. It will be a maximal ideal if and only if for any ideal for any ideal A, either a subset of I or A plus I equals R. Either A plus I equals R. That means it is saying that R be a ring and I be any proper ideal of R, then I would be a maximal ideal if it satisfies this condition. What is the condition? That is, whenever we get any ideal A, either a subset of I, that means either A should be smaller than I, or A plus I, this sum will be the whole ring R. We just need to prove that. So let's take this is an if and only if condition. So let's take the necessary part. Let I be a maximal ideal of R. Okay, and considering A be any ideal of R, then what we have to prove? We have to prove this one, either a subset of I or A plus I equal to R. So let's take A is not a subset of I. Okay, then what we can say, A plus I, this quantity, this will be an ideal of R, because A is an ideal of R and I is an ideal of R. That means their sum will also be an ideal of R. Now A plus I is an ideal of R and I always subset of A plus I, right? So from there what we can say, that we have already taken that I is a maximal ideal, right? So we get I subset of A plus I subset of R, but I is our maximal ideal. So what we can conclude from there? Obviously I is not equal to A plus I, then this one must be same. So from here we can conclude that A plus I should be equal to R. That is, the given condition is proved. Now we need to prove the converse part. That is, whenever we take any ideal A, it is satisfying the property that either A subset of I or A plus I equal to R, then I would be a maximal ideal. So conversely, let suppose J be an ideal of R such that I subset of J. Okay, that means J is not a proper subset of I because I subset of J. So by the given property, what we can say, I plus J should be equal to R, because for whatever ideal you take, this will satisfy this property according to the question. So I plus J should be equal to R. But what about I plus J? I plus J is equal to J because I is totally contained in J. So I plus J is our J. that means J equal to R. So we have taken one superset of I, which is obviously a subset of R, and we get that J equals R. So from there what we can conclude? I is our maximal ideal. So the converse part of the theorem is also proved. That is, I is the maximal ideal. Next, moving to the next example. Example 5. Show that the ideal generated by X in ZX. ZX means the polynomial ring, that is the polynomials over Z. In ZX is a prime ideal but not a maximal ideal. Is a prime ideal but not a maximal ideal. So we have that ring, this one ZX, and we have that ideal this. We need to prove this is a prime ideal but not a maximal ideal. This is a very beautiful example. So let's prove it. First we will prove this is a prime ideal. So for that reason, let some fx into gx belongs to this x. Okay. Now let's fx at gx belongs to obviously zx, because we have to take two elements from the required ring. So we have taken two fx and gx such that their product belongs to this x. Now let how will this fx and gx will look like? They will be polynomials in z. So let's take fx equals a0 plus a1x plus dot dot an x to the power n, and gx equals some b0 plus b1x plus dot dot bm x to the power m. Okay, let this is fx and this is gx. So fx into gx belongs to this set. Now what does it mean? This means generated by x. That means it will look like some a0x plus a1x x square plus a2 x cube plus dot dot ap x to the power p will look like this. That means this is always some quantity, that means some polynomial into x, because it is generated by x. That means one thing we can say about all the properties of this ideal, that means there would be no constant term, right? Because if you check the constant term, there is no x is multiplied. So there all the elements of that generated by x set will look like this one. There would be no constant term. Now we have considered that this element fx gx belongs to this x. That means this product should also have no constant term. And what about the constant term of fx into gx? If you multiply this one and this one, what will be the constant term? It will be this into this, that is a0 b0. So this a0 b0 must be equal to 0 because they are belonging to this x. So from here what we can say, that a0 b0 must be equal to 0. That means either a0 equal to 0 or b0 equal to 0. Now if a0 equal to 0, then fx will be of the form a1x plus dot dot plus an x to the power n. That means for each of the term x is multiplied. So we can say this is belongs to generated by x, right? Similarly, if b0 equal to 0, then gx will look like b1x plus dot dot plus bm x to the power m. That means this also belongs to this. So either fx belongs to x or gx belongs to x. So from here we can say that x is a prime ideal. Okay. Now we need to prove the next thing, which is this is not a maximal ideal. So for that reason I am considering this one. This x, which is obviously a subset of x comma 2, this one, right? And again which is a subset of zx. this is an ideal of Zx, so we get one proper ideal of Zx such that X is a subset of that ideal. So from here we can say this is not a maximal ideal. Okay, this proves the example. So this is it for that chapter, maximal and prime ideal. You practice all the questions or schema-pa exercises. There are few more theorems in that chapter using principal ideal domain and polynomial ring reducibility criteria. We will discuss it later when we will learn that chapters, PID and all.